you lovely computer people out there, and welcome back to another episode of Lost in the Farmer's Market, where today we're looking at this lovely specimen here. Now, some of you will probably not know what it is because you've never actually seen its foliage, and usually when you buy it at the supermarket, well, it's just the roots. So, what is this strange plant, you ask? Its scientific name is Zingiber officinale, or commonly known as ginger. Yeah, the ginger, the weird craggy roots that you buy at the store that almost look like iris roots, if you know what iris roots look like. They're very similar looking, but ginger tends to have a yellow golden brown skin with yellowish whitish flesh. Now that's in the Zingiberaceae family, which is the ginger family. Go figure, the most famous member of the family. It and it's the second most famous are both culinary herbs. How about them apples? Now, zingiber itself comes from the word zingiberis, which is Greek, which originates from I believe it's a Sanskrit word, which refers to the shape of the root, which is kind of cool. It's kind of cool because it means people have been using ginger for ages. And in fact, there is plenty of archaeological evidence that indicates that this was a canoe plant. It was taken across the seas, not the Atlantic or Pacific, the width of the Pacific, or the Atlantic for that matter, on dugout canoes and whatnot, because it could survive that kind of transport, and they have actually been actively growing. Now, this plant originates from maritime Southeast Asia, which should tell you a lot. It ties in, but this plant has been getting around since prehistory, so it's been critical to humanity for quite some time. The USDA hardiness for this plant is 8A to 12B, but there's a caveat. It is only a true perennial in the ground in zones 9 through 12. In zones 8A and 8B, however, it is classified as a truly tender perennial, so you should probably, if you had it, bring it in, store it as dry as you can, as cleanly and as dryly as you can, and then replant it in the spring. Its soil pH preference is 6 to 8. Its exposure is full sun to partial shade. Its height is 2 to 6 feet. Its width is 2 to 6 feet per individual ginger root colony. It's also known, ironically, as ginger root, but I've also heard it called table ginger, culinary ginger, ginger the spice, to be so you don't get sued by a certain band, and a few other things. There's actually, someone once called it actually medical ginger because it is the one that is used to extract certain things. However, you could argue that its cousin, turmeric, also deserves that crown, which is the other most famous member of the family. Now, culinary ginger, as it is usually sterile, meaning that it does not produce viable seeds, so it is only propagated by cuttings from the rhizome, which is what that root thing is that you normally would eat. Remember, rhizome is a modified root, stolon is a modified stem. Stolon, not to be confused with Stalin. Now, the stems themselves are actually of note, these stems here, because they're not actual stems. There's no central lignin-filled rigid tube in there like you would with a normal stem on any other plant. These are actually tightly furled leaves. The leaves come down, and the rest of the furl is down there, which is kind of interesting. So it's leaves within leaves. It's leaveception. Yo, dog, I heard you like leaves, so I put leaves in your leaves so you can leave while you leave. I'm sorry, corny old joke. Couldn't help it. Anyway, it's kind of neat because that's why something like a leaf roller would be devastating to this plant because its upright growth is all leaves. But I should point out something interesting, and this is in comparison to another well-known medicinal plant. The sap-like liquid that can be squeezed from the flower clusters, which actually look like rounded pine cones, is typically used as a shampoo. You put it in your hair, and you get it in there real good, and then you rinse it out, and it apparently cleans all the schmutz out. And you feel ginger fresh. I need to trademark that. But in comparison, what's interesting is that there is a cousin of this plant called shampoo ginger, which is actually better at it than your traditional food ginger or culinary ginger. And that's all it does. And that's the one they typically put in cosmetics, but they're not going to, you don't threaten them with a good time. They won't turn down the the sauce from culinary ginger. And likewise, if you think that's weird, it's not. It's actually very common in the plant trade. Sort of like how essential oil from a lot of herbs is actually done from specific varieties that are bred to produce more oil content. Or, for instance, whenever you buy cosmetic stuff, any kind of cosmetic stuff that it says it has aloe in it says aloe vera, but chances are it's its cousin, blue aloe or aloe glauca, which is known as cosmetic aloe, which is the one that is bred for top-notch gin. So now you know, and knowing's half the battle. And apparently, Menace over there approves. Come on, Menace, look at the camera. Yay. He's like, leave me alone, I want to sleep. So, now you know. Now you can just squeeze that stuff out. You can use it for your hair. You can use it as a body wash. You can add it into homemade soaps. I believe with the right preparation, I believe you can just straight drink it, actually, if it's out of if it's out of culinary ginger anyway. Shampoo ginger, not so sure. Now, interestingly, as of 2020, India is the lead producer in ginger. And interestingly enough, if you look that up on Wikipedia, you will find that there are people in there. You're like, really? These people? I mean, yes, they're South Asia countries, but you're just sitting here, and China's down there, huh? Oh well. So, let's talk some science. So, the active ingredient for the effect you want in ginger, not the burn. The burn is a bonus, but no, the active ingredient, because ginger is a double anti-inflammatory. Basically, it takes out inflammation in the body, which a lot of health experts think is what's really causing the biological problems that we have today. It's that we've got a lot of inflammation throughout the body. So, gingerol, one of the compounds, which I still say that is the least inventive name for a compound I've ever heard of. Gingerol sounds a lot like geritol, and I'm not liking that. Not loving it. But anyway, it has anti-inflammatory and anti-apoptotic abilities. Now, that last one is basically there's a signal that tells cells in your body that they need to die, and this stops that, or basically it stops it or slows it down, which is good in a bunch of ways because basically your cells being bombarded with oxidants, which is why all the health stuff has antioxidant abilities now. It's good for that purpose. It basically prevents or delays cell death. Now, the second one is a compound called 6-Shogal. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but it also has anti-inflammatory abilities, but it also has antioxidant ability, and it may or may not have effects on cancer and tumor growth. So that's a double anti-inflammatory effect. You pair that with its cousin turmeric, or however you want to pronounce that, and you have anti-inflammatory. It's anti-inflammatory to the fourth or fifth power or something like that. Then you throw in some cardamom and bam! You have gone into negative numbers of inflammatory. But yeah, that's what it's great for. Now, growing ginger is really easy. It's not actually hard in the Carolinas. The trick is to plant the rhizomes at roughly about surface level. It's like you would an iris. These ones aren't actually exposed, and we got some cat putting away. Come on, mischief. Don't be a bum. Yes. They're buried just slightly under, and then the rhizomes will spread actually throughout this pot. I will harvest some of this, if not all of that, assuming I don't put it into dormancy, around October. Okay? The hot, sunny weather is actually the ginger's jam. They actually like it. And that's basically it. Water, fertilizer, standard soil. You do not need any weird cactus soil or nothing like that. It does like a little extra organic matter in my opinion, but throwing down some worm castings would be sufficient, or top dressing with a slow release 10-10-10 will do the same trick. Beyond that, even our hurricanes don't phase ginger. That's why I love ginger. Unfazed by our weather. So that basically summarizes growing ginger and all of that. if you have any questions about growing ginger or want to, throw some tips up for other people about how to grow ginger, what you do with ginger, what you mix it with, put it in the comments section. If you like this episode, hit like or subscribe. The Forge blog is up and running, and in the last couple of weeks, we have covered two native forms of fungi: the hemlock varnish shelf, which is a type of reishi, and Amsonia jacksonii, which is Jackson's Amsonia, and edible Amsonia that's in the Amanita family, which has got the destroying angels and all that unfun stuff in it. But it's the one of the few mushrooms in the United States that you could eat raw safely. You're not worrying about the high chitinous content causing trouble in your gastrointestinal tract, which is why I don't advise you eat raw mushrooms anyway. But they're fascinating reads, so they're up there. In addition to this, expect more episodes. And as always, folks, keep them growing. Thanks for watching. See you soon.